Sweet.
Yep.
All right. Well, good morning, good night, maybe good dawn, good dusk. Welcome back. Good day, good day. Welcome back to the Imperfect Podcast, episode 3, maybe part 1 of 3, I guess, I don't know.
Episode
3. We have quite a special episode. We actually have a special guest here with us.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Erin, Akoo. I am married to Akoo, who you know, probably confusing you all right now, but our last name is Akoo, and he goes by Akoo instead of his first name when he's doing
I think he just said Akoo like 500 times in like 2 seconds. So.
Well, that's my name, and that's also his name. So I am Akoo's wife, and they just asked me to jump on here impromptu. So hopefully you guys enjoy hearing things from a female perspective as well. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Why?
Female's perspective.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice.
It was actually a spur of the moment choice, but it felt like such a God choice because we needed a female's perspective because tonight's topic, Akoo, would you like to introduce the topic?
Yeah. Again, spur of the moment. But tonight's topic, we are going to go and tackle all things dating, specifically Christian dating.
Yes.
So, so me and Stephen and Erin, we're just navigating through this subject and this topic, and we're like, man, how can we navigate this conversation? Obviously, you and me both know that there is so much to talk about when it comes to dating. You know, the do's, the don'ts, how to approach it, how not to approach it, etc., etc. So what we thought was, let's just begin with a kind of like a background, right? Like a opener, a couple part series where part 1 would be just introducing the topic and having conversations, maybe asking 3 different types of questions as far as navigating through relationships and navigating through dating. Actually, even before you get into a relationship, when you're in the thought process of, okay, I'm getting ready to be in a relationship, I want to start dating, like what does that look like? So Stephen, help me out here. What's our thought process behind that, and how did we want to like kind of open up and move on with this subject?
Yeah, I think for this episode, kind of reiterating what you're saying, like, we just want to introduce things. We want to introduce the idea of what we believe like Christian dating is supposed to look like, and what steps you need to have. And I almost think about it, I think, again, spur of the moment, the idea I was thinking of is we just had dinner together, all 3 of us. And
amazing dinner, by the way. I wish this episode was being recorded like in picture mode, because if you guys could just see the quality of the food that we just ate, like this man, like I don't know why he's recording a podcast right now. He should be like cooking for hundreds of people in a restaurant. Like he has the right profession.
Honestly, both of you guys, like you're talking, but you're also emotional.
Erin is our official taste tester when we open up a food truck. She gets that job.
Oh, heck yeah.
But I think what was so interesting as it came to me is, as we were making it, I was like,
what were we making first of all?
We made fried rice.
People what they want.
Yeah, we made fried rice. Akoo and I made fried rice.
Yes.
And it was amazing. I was teaching him about fried rice, and he was very, very curious about how to make it, how like culturally, like how true is it to the source?
Yes.
How true is it to the source? What ingredients? Why are the ingredients there, and why are they important?
Yep.
And it was really neat because he desired to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And because the reason he said that, he's like, well, if I just do it myself and what I think it's supposed to be, I won't really know how to do it, and it won't taste the same. It won't be the same thing. It won't be how it was meant to be. And I think
I'm not gonna even enjoy it the same way. You know what I
mean? Right. Yeah.
This is such a great intro.
and I think that is really a picture of the attitude we want, but what really happens in dating is a lot of us desire marriage and being in relationships, and what we pass over is the preparation it takes to actually make it happen.
Yes.
Where you, what ingredients make happen?
Yep.
What is this vegetable here for? Why did you do this then? Why did you wait to put this sauce in at the very end?
Yep.
You know, because, and it's like, well, like for Akoo and I told him, hey, we're going to put sriracha at the very end because I want to make sure all these flavors are correct before I mask it with this hot sauce. I want to spice it up later.
Yeah.
And oftentimes,
we want to
spice it up now.
We want to spice it up now.
We want to spice it up now.
Yeah.
And so what we're wanting to introduce is, for a lot of us, relationships come at one of the most important things that we desire. We say we want to be in a relationship, we want to be married, we want to have kids, want to do all of these things, but our preparation and the way we walk into it is very low. We walk into it saying, oh yeah, I think this feels right. I think this looks right. I don't really know what other people are saying, but I don't really care what people are saying. I'm just doing it because I think it's best for me.
I just have this tunnel vision of me wanting to date, wanting to be in a relationship, and everything else, all the collateral damages happening in and around me doesn't matter as long as I get what I want, which is the relationship or the things that you want in that relationship.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And so kind of continuing on, this will round off eventually, this example will round off eventually. If Akoo made this fried rice without me helping him, and he's like, oh, I just saw this at a restaurant, I'll try it, without looking up a recipe or even asking for help, it would be a disaster.
Let alone taking time to actually prepare for it.
Right.
You know, like, that's just me. Yeah, Erin, you know, we're going to make fried rice tonight. Keep in mind, you know, I'm this Kenyan that's never made Asian food before. other than ramen, you know, that minute ramen you take and you pour water and you put the seasoning packets onto it.
Hey, sometimes that ramen is heat. But
of course it's gonna.
But that's the purpose of this, is we want to approach this subject with a lot of care because we know it matters to us and we know it matters to those that are listening.
Yes.
And so the question is relating, like, what ingredients, what is my desire for this presentation of food or relationship?
Yes.
What is the goal of it?
Yes. Yes. Why are we wanting to pursue this relationship?
Why are we wanting to pursue this relationship? What do I need to know about myself or the different ingredients? Because even though we've talked about making this fried rice, you are an ingredient in the relationship. You are very much a part of an ingredient. So what does it mean to know the other ingredients, but know yourself also?
Okay. I like that. Good. I like that.
And so those are the questions we're going to be asking is,
wait, did you say the second question and third question?
I will, yeah. The first question is... Yeah,
I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're good. Don't worry about it. We're excited for this episode. We really are. And it was hard to narrow it down, but the three questions we'll go through in no particular order, but is, why do I want to date?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of me dating someone or looking to date someone? And the second question is, what ducks do I have to get in a row? Do I have to have certain things like in place before like God says you can date, or does he have some sort of standard by like, man, I gotta check off all the boxes. Then he's gonna give me a wife, or he's gonna give me a husband, a boyfriend, girlfriend, or anything. And the third question is, should Christians have a list?
Should you have a list?
Should you have a list?
How long should that list be?
How long should that list be for your significant other? What do I want? What do I want in this other person? You know, what does that list look like? Should it exist? Should it not exist? If it does exist, what should be in it? And like so, we're going to tackle that first question of, why do I want to date?
And it's kind of funny because I'm going to shoot it over to Erin here, and I'm thinking, like, do you even say the word date anymore? Like, as Christians, you know, like, for example, you know, when you become a Christian, like, our lingo changes, our vocabulary changes. We stop saying, you know, we stop saying certain words and we start saying certain words. So the word date, do Christians use the word date? Have you heard that a lot in the Christian world, Erin? Like, what do you think? Or what does it mean when somebody says, yeah, you know, I'm dating someone, or just that word date?
The word, okay, so when I hear date, I think, all right, you're past the talking stage.
Okay.
Ooh.
You are now officially boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Officially, boyfriend.
yeah,
and
like officially, like the guy has asked you, do you want to be my girlfriend? Or whatever, however it happened. But like, like in my mind, when I hear dating, I'm like, okay, like they are dating. Like they're really together.
And they're
you know?
official.
Like they're official. Yeah.
Interesting.
For me, yeah.
Interesting. Because the way I was thinking about it, and the way like I've kind of experienced it, is dating is literally what the word says, going on dates. So I don't have to be official with you. I just have to be courting you. I just have to be taking you on a date to be dating you.
Yeah, that's interesting because in my mind, that's like talking to somebody. Or like, I went on a date with this person. Like, we're talking, but we're not like dating yet, you know?
Yeah.
That's crazy because in my mind, talking is just talking. It's switching text messages. It's getting on the phone. It's not actually taking the person on a date.
Yeah.
Oh. What about you, Steve? What are you thinking?
I actually understand what both of you guys are saying, but I think more often what I've seen just in our circles here in Kansas City, I've heard people avoid the conversation if like we see two people hanging out together of the opposite gender, like a guy and a girl, and like, oh, are you interested in each other? Like, yeah, we are, but we're just talking.
You're just talking.
Yeah.
We're just talking. Like, it's nothing serious. Like,
have you gone on a date? Yeah, we've gone on millions of dates, but we're just talking.
We're just talking. We're just talking. Yeah, like, it's not really dating. It's just talking.
In that case, like, that's when I think it's funny because if people are like, yeah, we've been talking for like
5 years.
Like, no, like for real. Like, if it is a long time, like, yeah, we've been like talking. Like, oh, when did you start talking? Oh, December. I'm like, girl, it's June. Like, you're not talking. You're dating.
You're not having an anniversary for your talking.
A talk-anniversary. Let's get tacos on our talk-anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
No, let's stop.
Yeah.
No, but it's a genuine question because I feel like when we start navigating and start understanding, okay, what's the purpose? Why are we wanting to date? That word in itself has a deeper meaning because you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with that person that you're quote unquote dating or whatever the word is you want to use. Because if you use the word talking based on the definition that you have for it, then the things that you're doing with that person is very different from what it would be if you're dating and taking them out on dates. Or it'd be even more different if you're actually calling them your girlfriend or your boyfriend respectively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess like opening that up again, back to you, Erin, like what does that look like for you? Like what are things that you're thinking about or just your initial thought processes when somebody comes to you? I know like you mentor a couple of girls in our circle and even you, I'm thinking back to your experiences as far as like wanting to be in a relationship or wanting to date somebody. Like, talk to us about how that's looked like in the past for you and what that looks like for you now even.
Yeah. Well, I've always had the mindset of I'm dating because I want to see who I want to marry in the future. And so that's what I always try to stress to like my friends and the younger girls in our circle. And that's what, when I was getting discipled by our old pastor's wife, like she was always drilling in is like and that was also when we were dating, so like she was kind of like, okay, like you're dating this guy, but like, you know, you have to be intentional, like you're dating him because you want to see if you want to marry him. And so that's something that I just continue to stress to people around me is like, all right, like if you like this guy, cool, like okay, do you want to date him because you're lonely and because you want to just like have a boyfriend and like hang out with somebody, or are you dating him because you genuinely think you're ready for like a relationship and you genuinely think he would make a good future husband and like you feel God is calling you to this person, like okay, if you think those things, and it doesn't have to be this super deep thing, but like just having the right mindset and you know being like, okay, do I want to date just because or because I actually am going to be intentional, like what's your why behind it?
That's
I like that.
That's so big.
It's a little sriracha on that fried rice.
Man, it was a little heat. And sometimes it burns because it does burn. Because,
it does.
I think just thinking back to my own, my own life, and I'm sure all three of us can attest to it. We've gotten into relationships that were shallow. I can say for myself, like, I got into a relationship in college because it was convenient for me. Because the girl liked me, she was attracted to me, and that made me feel validated as a guy, where I didn't have that in a home. Like in my home life, it was someone to talk to when I didn't have anyone to really talk to. She was willing to push physical boundaries, but I was like, oh, that's great. Like, that's what I desire. Maybe I'm getting a little taste of that before marriage.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like just having experience of like, well, I'll just use this person because, you know, like it would help me in my marriage.
Yeah. No, I definitely see that. Wow, it's crazy, and it's good to just hear y'all's perspective, and like just hearing you guys makes me think of my own experiences, and I had a slightly different experience because I grew up when I was in college. I was in a Christian bubble, so so a lot of my friends, like, we were forced to be Christians, quote unquote, you know. And for me, when it came to like dating or pursuing somebody, I almost like hindered myself from making something exclusive because I wanted to get away with something a little bit more as a Christian, quote unquote, in a Christian bubble. So what I mean by that is I would find myself like talking to, you know, this girl that I'm talking to, and you know, you would look at me as if like, you guys have been hanging out for a couple weeks now, it's been a month, like what's happening in the relationship, like where are you guys progressing? And secretly, like, we're progressing real fine, like we're doing good, we're getting to know each other, but we're getting to know each other too much, and we're starting to share parts of our relationships that shouldn't really be are not really healthy, and it shouldn't really be shared, and we're finding ourselves doing things, but yet we're saying, we're talking, but we're not really talking. Talking, it's in the background, but we're doing things that we're not supposed to be doing. And I felt ashamed not owning up to it and not speaking up about it. So that's why I would say, we're talking, but I don't really have any implications of that going further and really like announcing that, yes, this is my girlfriend and this is the somebody that I want to see myself marrying. Why? I felt like judged, and I felt like, man, I just want to continue secretly going through what I'm going through. So it's kind of cool that we've had different experiences and different like implications of what that looks like. So I just wanted to throw that in there for me and for anyone else that might have had similar experiences. Yeah.
I think when you're talking about that and like kind of your reaction to what like other people's judgment was when you wanted something for yourself, but other people were like, it's not that good. And so you hid yourself away and didn't really want to talk about it, or you hid the truth. And I was, we all prepped for this a little bit. Yeah. And I got pulled into Romans chapter 8, verse 5. Real killer.
Yes.
Romans. Real killer.
Fun fact, we're actually going through Romans right now in our young adult Bible study. So it's always funny, like when we always go back to Romans.
But we said we were going to keep this light, but really this is the crunchy garlic chili oil.
The kicker.
I don't know if you can keep this light.
This is the one that gets stuck in your teeth.
You gotta chew on it a little bit. But this is Romans chapter 8, verse 5. It says, "For those who live according to the flesh set their minds on things of the flesh.
Yes.
Right.
But those who live according to the Spirit live by the things of the Spirit, or set their minds on things of the Spirit."
Yeah.
And so just thinking about like the contrast between what we talked about, where Akoo and I, like, we had years of where we hid ourselves, where isolated or did things that weren't good because our minds were on ourselves and on things of the flesh, pleasing ourselves.
Yep. Yeah.
And so we did things and had fruit like born of that, of shame and guilt and isolation. Whereas Erin, in this period of her life, like, she had people pouring into her. And
I mean, in that period, I wasn't like, I mean, I definitely messed up as well. I don't want y'all to think that I'm perfect, so.
Right. Well, But in that, like, when you live according to the Spirit and have people pouring into you and asking you these really good questions and pointing you back to the Spirit, you start organizing your life around the Spirit. And you start seeing that in pockets of your life. And so, I don't know, I think that might be a segue, unless you guys have more to add on to it, and we can always go back, but a segue into what your mind should be set on. I think I really want to go into the question of should Christians have a list?
I think that's a great segue. And, like, I think once we go to segues, it's still gonna be relating back to why should we date. So
Right,
you know,
right.
we're not really completely like going away from that topic in general. So
Yeah.
So let's segue into this. And so my question for you guys before we go into should Christians have lists, I kind of want you guys to give a couple, like a working definition of what this list is in the Christian world. What is this list that people talk?
Yes.
What is this list, or even in the worldly sense? What is this list?
Let's go back and forth. All right, let's go back and forth. All right, first list.
Okay.
Oh man, I'm blanked out. Hit one. Throw one at me. What's a list?
Tall.
Ooh,
he gotta be tall.
nah. She
Man, that hurts.
She has to.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna say
She
it from like
can't
a
be-
female perspective.
Alright,
You
go
say
ahead,
it from a male
go ahead,
perspective.
go ahead,
Like
go ahead.
let's have fun with it.
Whatever. Go ahead.
No,
Like, for real.
popcorn
Go
back
ahead,
and forth.
yes.
No, popcorn
I said
back
tall.
and forth.
Oh, tall?
Yeah.
Alright, she can't be too short. And if you guys don't know, Erin is like 4'3".
That is so
I am
exaggerated.
6'2". Erin is like 4'3".
It's like an Oompa Loompa, the Jolly Green Giant.
Oh my!
Okay,
For the
I'll-
longest time, like I never wanted to court Erin. I did not, for the sole reason of she was way too short.
Do you
That
hear
was
this?
definitely on my list.
Do you guys hear this right now?
Hurtful.
It was. I'm just.
I'm being discriminated against because of my height.
I'm just being truthful. Alright,
You
go
know what's
ahead.
funny though? On our wedding day, I literally didn't want to be that much shorter for our first kiss, like on our wedding. So I wore 5-inch heels. I mean, I like wearing heels anyways.
The
but
funny
I
thing
just
is, we
thought it was
both had each other's heights in our vows.
In our vows, yeah, and we didn't know
we
that.
didn't know that. That was so funny.
Yeah.
But what's another?
Okay,
one?
another one that I feel like girls would say is funny.
Funny?
Yeah.
Okay, for guys, I'm gonna be straight up. She has to have the figure that we want. Like, we have to be physically attracted to her based on the figures or the persona that we've grown up with as a guy, whether that's through addiction, whether that's through, like, attractions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's gonna be on the list for guys.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to preface that I think you guys know this, but we're not saying like this is the list you should have to have, and these are the things.
No,
we're like
this
making
is
fun of the
A-list.
list right now. Yeah,
This is A-list.
like this is just okay. Just wanted to say that. I think girls would also say, I guess attractive, but that's very subjective. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of girls also, unfortunately, and I mean, I was also this way, so I'm digging at myself, are like, oh, like, I don't want to date a white guy. I want to, like, date, like, they, like, specify it to a certain race or, like, a certain background.
Yeah. Okay. This is something that a lot of guys might not agree with right now or might not know, but guys find, and I've talked to a couple of guys, both older than me and a lot of them my age, but guys look for girls who remind them of their mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, also girls look for guys that remind them of their dad, subconsciously, for sure.
Subconsciously or even consciously.
Yeah.
And I think another list is, man, she has to be funny. She has to be, or not, she doesn't have to be, but I would like it if she's funny. I would like it if she has a lot of friends, a lot of girlfriends. I'd like it. That could be a list. Yeah. Huh. That was on mine for sure. It was on mine.
Like, you wanted to date a girl that also had a lot of girlfriends?
I wanted to date a girl that was somewhat popular. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Like, I got you.
And popularity in the sense, because you don't want a girl, as a guy, you don't want a girl that has a lot of guy friends, because why you why you hanging around with a lot of guys?
Yeah, that makes sense.
She has to have a lot of friends, which are girls, because I don't want her to be messing with my friends.
She gotta be part of the mean girl crew without being mean.
Exactly.
Squad.
But anyways, for the sake of going too long, you get that. That's the type of mindset when it comes to lists. Like having
it's gotta be this, and this.
Yeah, having a list of preferences that you have, based on whether it's culture, whether it's liking, whether it's attraction, whether
money,
it's money,
like
exactly. He has to be making X amount of dollars. Like that's so
I'll add to that. I mean, sometimes the list is, hey, he's gotta desire a job to where I don't have to work anymore. I can be a stay-at-home mom. She has got to know how to cook and clean, and she's want to desire that. She has to
shivery. He has to be chivalrous.
He has to open the
be a
door
gentleman.
all the time. Those things. Or this one should be on your list. Good hygiene. I don't know. Hopefully that's on your list. Man. Maybe that one gives a free pass. But all of these things that we're talking about that happen to be on people's lists, or where someone has to be a certain way, but not too much of a certain way. It has to fit perfectly in. All of these things are very superficial. I know, Erin, you might have a verse to add that the Bible can speak to that, of where the fleetingness of that type of list.
I was gonna say, I have one pulled up while she's looking, and for me, it's just it's going from thinking things that are earthly and starting to think things that are spiritual. And as a guy, and this is me directly speaking towards guys, because I don't want to speak for girls. That's why we have my lovely wife here to give girls' perspectives.
That's right. I'm not a girl here.
From a guy, like, guys want to, like, pursue somebody that they're attracted to. Yeah. Like, it's gonna be so hard to pursue somebody if you're not attracted to them. So attraction is very much something that guys should think about when it comes to physiques or physical attractions. But let's also, like, add in on our list, if we want to have a list, spiritual attractions. Man, I'm looking at 2 Timothy verses 2 verse 22. Like, flee from your youthful passions and pursue people who are righteous, people who have a lot of faith in God, people who show a lot of love, a lot of peace. These are the people who call on the Lord with a pure heart. And I'm paraphrasing, but in 2 Timothy, you see all these aspirations when you look for your mate or somebody that you want to date. Man, go to God and make those things spiritual. Hey, God, like, I would really love somebody who exemplifies your fruit really well. Exemplifies your fruit of love, your fruit of joy. I want to find a girl that's always full of joy. I want to find a girl that's always full of grace, always full of patience, you know. Yes, I want to be attracted to them, but I want to find a girl that has a little bit of self-control. You know what I mean? Like, that would be so much, in my opinion, more attractive and more healthy when guys start to pursue relationships and start to pursue dating. Because if you just simply have a list that is physical in the things that you're looking for, man, you're gonna end up falling short in a lot of ways. Look at me, I fell short in the height department. I got a girl that was way too short. Why? But why am I with her? Why do I have a ring on my finger? Because I focused on the spiritual things. So with that, I'm gonna lead it to you, babe, and bring the spiritual punch onto this conversation.
Okay, so I'm glad that you talked about women's beauty, I guess, because that's exactly what I was gonna say about the verse that I can't remember what chapter it is, but it's in Psalms, and just relating to that, like, if you focus, and I mean, even girls, this is like relating to how you see a guy's, like, how you see a guy, like, if you're lusting over a guy's body and like how strong he is and like how much he goes to the gym or like his ab pictures on Instagram, like, okay, yeah, that's nice, and like, yeah, you want to be attracted to the person that you want to marry someday, but that cannot be your number one priority. Like, what, and it says in Psalms, the verse I'm gonna read is 25. I don't know what chapter. I have to go find it, so I'll get that for you guys later. But it says, "Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For the price of a prostitute is only a loaf of bread." But a married woman hunts down a precious life. Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? So I know it's like kind of kind of a harsh
looking like sourdough out there.
I think the audience is like, is this episode about dating or is it about food? Because
I'm talking about food. I love me some good sourdough. But yeah, like, all jokes aside, it's just going to show, like, even like women, the way you carry yourselves and the way you dress, like, you don't want to be putting off that figure or that ideal of, like, I want guys to, you know, look at my body and like look at what I have, because
you know what, if you want guys to look at your body, guys are gonna look at your body.
Exactly.
And that's it's so heartbreaking, because we're so, and I'm gonna allow you to go back to your conversation, but it's so quick. We're so quick to, if we see it, we're like, oh yes, that's what I want. And then we're so blinded by everything else. You know? So I'm glad that you mentioned that point, because it's a huge point. It really is.
And even other girls, like, girls, you know this, like, we'll look at each other and we'll judge each other and be like, she looks like a skank, you know, like, oh my gosh, like, but then the second you put that on, you feel empowered and you feel beautiful or whatever. But I'm like, what are you telling yourself really? But anyways, that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to get into that because but just be conscious of that, like in your pursuit for an answer to why you're dating is like, okay, you know, am I wanting to be with someone because they're attractive and because they have a high stature or status? But that shouldn't be your number one priority.
Yeah, Stephen, let us know what's your thought process.
I mean, man, you guys both are knocking out of the park multiple times. This is a freaking blowout, and I think the struggle hearing this is like, I don't know if I necessarily believe you. The world seems to be doing quite all right with their relationships, and they go after the same things. I can look on social media and see all these things, and it seems to be fine. They seem to be doing great.
Seems to be.
But in reality, there's a lot of brokenness, and you're like, well, I don't really know, like, if I can really believe it, because, I mean, I seem to like these physical features more. I don't really care that much. I mean, I'll potential. I'll go on potential. I'll date potential. And everyone's actually got potential. But I think what is the most difficult thing to hear about this is, you know, the conversation we're having is like, I don't even know if I can do this like the right way. Why is it better? But I think what you guys both have read is that the things that we have listed out what the world focuses on, it's fleeting. And it's just not there. And so this is what I would charge a lot of you with, is this classic verse from Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will keep your path straight. Now, a lot of us really love the first part. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. It's like, oh yeah, I can do that. He's got me. And when I'm down low, when I've messed up, I trust that he's going to save me. I trust that his salvation is there and his grace is there, and that I can bounce back. But it says, lean not on your own understanding. And oftentimes we're like, yeah, I get it. I'm not that smart. I know I can't really do it. And like, I know I'm going to need help in my future with my career, and I'll trust him there. But when it comes to our relationship, say, God, I don't know if I can trust you on this. You're asking me to stay pure. I don't know if I can stay pure. If you want me to focus on these things, I don't think I can focus on these things. But it says in verse 6, it says, in all your ways, acknowledge him. So what does that mean? It means acknowledge him in your family, your friends, your school, your community, your relationship, your intimate relationship with your significant other. And oftentimes,
oh my gosh.
Roby, go to bed.
Our dog wants to join the conversation.
I mean, you can edit that.
Yeah, I can edit it out. That's so funny.
But
do it closer, okay.
Okay.
Start over with.
Yeah.
I know, I was so distracting.
I know, I was like,
no, you're good.
I didn't want to snap because she responds to snap.
Yeah, but you're good. I should have just stopped.
Right.
No, you're.
But it says, in all your ways acknowledge him. And all does not mean some or the ones that you think you need help on. It's everything. God is interceding on every single part of your life, even the ones you don't want him to intercede on. And he has a right way of doing it. And so if you want the path of your future relationship to be straight, to be not have thorns inside of it, to where it hurts on a path that is supposed to be joyous, you need to give that to God.
I agree.
You need to give that to God.
And like daily. Because it won't just happen overnight.
Exactly.
And so what does that look like to give things over to the Lord? It means you have to have a desire. Like what your list is, it cannot be your own desires. It has to be what God is desiring for you and for the other person. And so a lot of what you're looking at and what you're desiring, you better cross-reference that with the Bible.
Yep. That's good.
You better you can open up Proverbs, you can open up,
just meditate in Proverbs.
For you guys, look at Proverbs 31 and a lot of
that is hilarious because that's what I was gonna. That's exactly where I had that across there.
And Proverbs 31, there is not a physical feature that's on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And actually, the one is like her arms are strong or something like that. Yep. But
so if you're gonna go after a Proverbs 31 woman, she better be able to deadlift. Yep. She better be able to deadlift.
Get those bicep curls going.
But
that's funny.
Really, there has to be a desire, and what is your desire? And the questions like that I have, and maybe this could be reiterated a different way, but I don't know how I want to say this, guys, but in any case, I don't know if you guys want to move on to the next one.
I just have one thing to say.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just edit this. So for like everyone listening, what is it you guys are chasing after? Is it chasing after your own desires in yourself? Or are you actually chasing after Christ as a Christian? If you are a Christian, are you chasing after that? What is the end goal for the building of this relationship? And I would charge you guys in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 19 through 22. It says, "Now therefore, you are no longer strangers and foreigners." So you're no longer outside, but it says, "But fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone." And in verse 21, this is huge. It says, "In whom the whole building, being fitted together, grows into a holy temple in the Lord." Not in yourself, in the Lord. It says, "In whom you're also being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit."
Amen.
Wow.
So how does that come to how we desire relationships? Well, the whole thing together of our relationship with other believers, it should be for God's glory and a dwelling place for His Spirit. Yep. Romantic relationships are different. Significant others are different, but they're still relationships. And they should not be exempt and say, well, church and all those people, I'll chase after God in that relationship. But here, I'm going to chase my own desires.
It's got to be like almost number one priority in your romantic relationship over, not necessarily over your friendships, but like how do you expect to make God the center of your friendships if it's not the center of your most important relationship? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. And man, you said so much, Stephen, and I'm like sitting here taking notes of myself. I'm like, but I just want to rewind it back to the list, and again, this is me talking to the guys. A lot of guys might be like, yeah, but whatever, like there's still a couple of things that I have in mind, and like if the girl that I'm pursuing doesn't have this or doesn't qualify this, then I'm not gonna pursue her. And we all know in our heads what that might be. But if I may urge and may push you guys, if you choose to not have a list, or if you choose to have a list, for those who choose to have a list, before you put anything else, I want to take it back to Proverbs 31, like Stephen was mentioning, and I want to say this: for the man that looks for the woman, man, charm. This is out of Proverbs 31, verse 30. I'm picking up in verse 30. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Whew. So what I want to charge you guys, you men who are pursuing dating and pursuing relationships, and whether you have that big list or no list at all, man, charge for a woman who fears the Lord. If you're creating a list, make sure that's in big, bold words. Number one, main priority, a woman who fears the Lord. Because if you find that, everything else will come, man. Everything else will come. But yeah, that's just where I wanted to rest and kind of like go back to. But Erin, let me know what you think about that, because it does talk about women. So
Yeah. I think for girls it's so easy to get caught up in like, wow, he's being so charming and he's saying everything I want to hear and he's holding the door, and yes, some of those things are good. Like, you want a man that is going to, like, you know, be kind and like hold the door for you or whatever. But if it's, I mean, I would just encourage women to be cautious, and this is me speaking to my like younger self as well, because I definitely made mistakes in my past. But like, sometimes a guy that is overly charming just wants you temporarily, and he might be charming because he wants what he can see on the outside, and he doesn't actually care to get to know you and see what you're about on the inside. He just sees maybe you're beautiful, and he just sees the beauty on the outside. But like it says, what Akoo just read, it's vain, it's vanity, and charm is deceitful. So just encourage you to like just be aware of that. I do think it's important. Like, yeah, we're bashing on the list a little bit, but I think I want to encourage everybody to know that you should have a list of things that you want, of good things, you know, like you guys are saying. Yeah, so I encourage you guys to focus on the good things, and don't feel afraid or ashamed to make a list of qualities of the Spirit and like qualities of God that you want to see in your future husband or your future wife, like gentleness, self-control, patience, all that stuff. Like, that's great, but I think we're bashing a lot on the physicality, which is true. Like, you know, you don't want that to be number one. And so we do encourage you to, like, don't be afraid to make a list, but be very careful with how you make it, and don't pull it out to be deceitful, like temporary things, if that makes sense.
I like that.
I agree. Yeah, man, that's so good, because I think lists are not a bad thing.
No.
Right.
They're simply a standard or set of things that allow you to organize your thoughts to reach something or to appraise somebody.
Yeah.
And so before we make this list of saying, hey, dear future husband, can you be gentle? Can you be patient? Can you be kind? You know, what is it that this list needs to be there for? What is this person going to do in your life? And we've touched on it before, kind of in the Why Are You Dating, but not a lot. But I think oftentimes we hop into this thing of, oh, I want to be in a relationship with this person because they make me comfortable. Because there's somebody to talk to. I can share all my emotional baggage with them. But that's not the goal, because they're not Christ. They're not the one who's going to carry everything for you. And I know Akoo has something, but I would say, for me, what I was thinking about before this podcast and what was impressed upon me is, if you're going to have a list, and if you want to add more and you think you should add more, great. But I think two of the most pertinent things would be, is this person earnestly pursuing Christ for themselves and not for the sake of trying to attain a relationship, but simply for being in relationship with Christ? And we can dive into what that looks like. And then the second part of this list, is this person pushing me to be closer to Christ? And I'm saying pushing. So I'm saying pushing. I did not say pulling. So for all of you who think, oh, I can fix this person, I can drag them to church, I can change them, guy or girl, because like we think we're the ones who can change them, but that's not your role, and you're gravely mistaken. That is Jesus's role. Like, oh, he's such a good guy. He's got a couple flaws, but I can bring him to church and he'll be just all of this. Or, she doesn't really she's kind of living a double life, doing these things. But if I just introduce her to a group of community girls, then she'll be just right, and then I'll be okay.
9 times out of 10, they'll pull you down before you pull them back up. They'll pull you down before you pull them up. Right?
Yeah, that's so good.
And so and I would charge you guys, now this is to say, this is where this is coming from, is from 2 Corinthians. This is huge, and many of you may have heard this and ignored it. But this is 2 Corinthians, oh gosh, I already forgot. What is it, 14?
Yes. This is the yoke.
Yeah, the yoke.
It's 6, 2 Corinthians 6.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then we are going to...
I got it.
There you go. 6.
So,
yep.
So, let me read this to y'all. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14. It says, "Do not be equally unyoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness? And what communion has light with darkness?" I really don't need to go much further because that's what Paul is saying here, who is the author of 2 Corinthians. He's saying, when you're trying to run in a certain direction and trying to pull someone along who isn't desiring that for themselves, you're going to go your separate ways.
Naturally, you're
not going to. And if you think, if you're of the mindset, no, I can change them, like I can walk with them, you will walk with them, you'll just be walking the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because something is going to give,
Yeah.
and if you think you can change somebody, they will never budge, and they won't change.
When God is never in the center of a relationship, the relationship is deemed to fail.
And so I think too often I want you guys to weigh in on this and how you guys have seen this come about, but I think oftentimes I just lost my train of thought. But I think oftentimes when oh gosh, I just had a really good point, you guys. This is so tragic.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I think this is Satan trying to mess with us. You good?
That's okay.
We'll
come back to it.
Yeah.
It'll pop up into my head.
Yeah.
Well, I'll add something really quick relating to what you're saying. For girls especially, like, if you think you're going to change a guy, I just encourage you to not settle. And I know that's such a cliche that I feel like goes around in Christian circles. It's like, don't settle, mama, like, you deserve the best. But, like, for real, it's so hard because I feel like women, like, you're so eager to get married and oh, I can't wait to like create a home someday and like have a family and like I want those things too. Like it's a natural female desire. Like God created us to be the helper of the husband, so like naturally we want to create a home and whatever. Anyways, I'm trying to say, don't settle for a guy that doesn't have the same mindset as you, and the guy should honestly be leading. Like, don't be afraid if he's a few steps ahead of you in his relationship with God. Like, he should naturally be leading. And so I think settling is a dangerous thing.
Yeah, and it's very important for you guys to remember that we're talking about dating. We're not talking about, like, you're engaged, ready to be married. Right. This is dating, something that has not been set in stone yet. You know, like, the rings haven't been...
Ooh,
so if the person is not a person that... like is running after God's heart, then it's okay to be like, hey honey, hey babe, hey whatever, hey boyfriend, hey dating partner, this isn't for me. Like, you're not the right person for me. Why? Because of XYZ. You're not pursuing God. You're not, whatever the reason is, right? And what I want to do is I want to kind of move on to the next question. Should we have our ducks in a row? By going back to the second question, should Christians have a list? And the reason why I'm bringing those 2 points is because actually on my notes, and you brought it up, Stephen, a couple minutes back, where you're talking about, man, like when you navigate that mindset of you creating a list, think about yourself first. And what I wrote down was, yes, you Christians should have a list. If you have 2 lists, if you have one list about somebody else, you should also have one list about yourself.
Ooh, that's good.
Have a list about yourself and put yourself on the pedestal, not on the pedestal, but on the paper, and say,
standard,
okay,
hold yourself
what are you bringing to the table? Like, it's one thing what you're looking for in a dating, but what are you presenting forward? Like, what type of person are you? What type of Christian are you going forward and navigating being in a relationship? Because if you want to be in a relationship with somebody that's running after God's heart and you're sitting there like you've been in church once in like 6 months and you don't even know when's the last time you read the Bible, like, how do you think that's going to end? How do you think that relationship is going to go? Right. So, me saying that, I want to kind of like just slowly go into the last question that we brought up in navigating this season. And should I have my ducks in a row? And should I, like, what posture should I have coming into this mindset of, man, I want to start dating somebody, or I'm dating somebody, I want to define whatever this thing is. And I want to bring it back to you, Stephen, and kind of bring back your thought processes and what you were talking about just a little bit ago. And man, like, what is your posture navigating this process, and like thinking about your ducks in order, in the sense of like, this is what I want to be before I step into this dating phase.
Yeah, for sure. I think oftentimes we choose the wrong ducks to get in a row. We choose things where we think people of the world would be attracted by. We touched on it earlier, but
we did.
Like, hey, my credit score better get right. And someone would love me. Or I need to start working out. I'll get like a 6-pack.
Hold on, let me get that BMW before. Let me get that BMW. I'm going towards somebody personally.
He's calling me out. Honestly, I regret that so much.
Let me get that BMW so you guys can see what I'm driving. But when I started dating, she was driving a BMW. I was driving a 1998 Toyota Camry. I had nothing to show guys.
You know what's funny? Like, I didn't even grow up with fancy cars. I had my dad to pick between that car and a Ford, like, I don't know, a Ford hatchback. And he was like, well, the BMW ride's pretty smooth. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, that's hilarious. You guys had such contrasting cars. But I think other earthly things, or just things that maybe just don't matter, is like, oh, I have to have a house. I have to have a stable income. I have to have all of these things where they're all perfectly laid out and there's going to be no problems in my marriage or whoever I'm dating, and then it has to be all perfect. I have to finish school completely. It's like, okay, all of these things, they're going to pass away, and like, Akoo would love to share this one day, but Ecclesiastes says, all things will pass away.
Yes, they will.
Nothing is permanent. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So what are the things that are actually important that when you put them in a row, they actually stick and they matter?
Yeah.
And those are the things that are connecting you to the Lord.
Yeah.
And so, at least for one of them that I know for sure is your relationship with God.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you are going to church or you happen to, do a Bible plan, even though that's not a bad thing. Like, you go to church and you serve and you have a Bible plan. Those are not bad things, but that is not a relationship with God. And I will say this is coming from John 15, 6 through 7. If you guys want to pop over there, it's really fun. John is great.
We love John.
We do love John.
My brother's name is John.
Yes. John 15, chapter 15, verses 6 through 7. This is Jesus speaking. And Jesus is the one who is both God and man in one. And so this is what he says in verse 6. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered. And they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you.
Okay.
So, what I'm saying is, things can happen. You can get in a relationship very easily. People get in relationships all the time with other people, but if you really want it to matter, to be a godly relationship, you better be abiding in God for the sake of abiding in God and nothing else.
Yeah.
Because if you both don't abide in God, you will both wither up and you'll be together, but you're going to be burned together. And it's going to burn quick.
Yep.
And just as you're reading that, listen to it. It says a branch. You ain't a tree. You ain't no tree. You're a branch.
Yeah.
You're just a starter for the fire that gets burned up so quickly.
Yeah.
And so abiding in Christ, abiding and having your relationship with God daily is huge, because that will be your comfort. That is what you need to have set in stone. And the other thing that I know of, again, we're going to go to John First John, actually, this is tying into community.
Yeah.
I've made, and this is a little more personal, but I've made the mistake of hiding away a lot of my emotional baggage and a lot of the things from my family that have happened in my family to myself. And I said, I'm going to find this perfect woman who is so patient and loving that I can pour everything out onto her and she will love me just the way I am. And no one else will know except her. And she will be so special. Yeah. And that is how amazing she is. Yeah. But that's so wrong because, again, that's not her role. She ain't there for that. Yeah. She can do some of it, but you need to cast your worries on the Lord. Yeah. Yeah. And so, but this is where this comes into is 1 John verses 6 through 7. This is talking about community and what we should be doing. It says, if we say that we have fellowship with him, him being God, it says, and walk in darkness, that we're doing things that we're not supposed to be doing, even if we're doing all the churchy things and have a double life, meaning we're walking in darkness, we lie and do not practice the truth. Yeah. Not know the truth, we do not practice the truth.
Which is even worse.
But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, so we're abiding in him in the light, we have fellowship with one another. Exactly. One another meaning community. Other Christians who are also abiding in him. Yeah. And the blood of Jesus Christ, his son, cleanses us from all sin.
Yes. And I'm going to cut you off right there because I want to talk about this from experience that not I've acquired and I'm mastered, but experience that I'm struggling through in a really positive way right now in my relationship. I've realized, and like if you're in a relationship, whether that's talking, whether that's dating, the longer that relationship grows, the more open you guys become as far as the visibility into your relationship with other people. When you find yourself hidden and your relationship secure and your relationships very quiet and you guys don't share a lot of what you do with other people, you find yourselves going into temptations. You finding yourself like really struggling in your faith. But healthy relationships, you'll find that everybody knows your business. Why? Because you have a community, you have accountability, you have people pouring into life, you have people pouring water. Why? Because you're being honest with one another. You have your accountability partners. The women have their accountability partners, and you're able to be real. You're able to walk in the light in fellowship, just like Stephen already mentioned. So that's one thing I want to mention for you guys that are in relationships. Check yourselves. If you and your partner are in a very secretive, hidden relationship, man, you guys should really consider finding that community, finding that mentorship, finding that disciple that can pour into your relationship. And if you guys try it out, accountability, because it's such a big thing, and we're gonna come back to it in a later episode. But I just wanted to throw that in there, Stephen, before you kept going. So
no, that was actually the point where I was gonna open it up. I wanted you guys to talk about what does that look like where we have fellowship. How has that impacted? I guess the first question is, what did it look like for you guys in your life without community? What struggles did you go through, not just between you two, but just in relationships in general, where you isolated yourself? And then contrast that with what has happened now that you guys are really diving in and being vulnerable. And the third question is, how can we be comfortable with that vulnerability in community?
Okay, wow. Before I had really genuine church community, I was I was a freshman in college, living the typical college life, partying, drinking, drugs, just out until 8 a.m. I went to college in New York City, so that was also another part of it. But then I got this job and I went to church and I met these girls at church that were in the same life stage as me, and we were all struggling through the same things, but also wanting to pursue Jesus, but not really knowing how. And we had these amazing older girls at church that were maybe only 5 or 7 years older than us, and they just wrapped around us with love and intentional care. Like, they genuinely wanted us to grow in our relationship with Jesus, and all of us girls were like, this is amazing. And so I think that, like, I owe so much credit to all of my female mentors throughout the years, because I would not be where I am in my faith without them. And that's why I also want to pour out into so many younger girls, like, now that I'm in the space that I'm in. But I think having a community literally has changed my life, because with that community, it gives you this sense of trust with people around you that allows you to be comfortable with the vulnerability of, like, hey, I'm struggling with this thing right now and I don't really know what to do. I don't really want to talk about it, but I trust you guys that you're not going to judge me and you're not going to, like, leave me and stop being my friend or whatever. But I also know that you are going to fill me up and give me advice and, like, check on me throughout the week. And like, it's just literally changed my life. And what's the third question you asked?
Just like, in talking about vulnerability,
like
how can we get to that moment of vulnerability? What is it that even allows that vulnerability to happen?
Yeah. So I guess I kind of said it, but just surrounding yourself with people from the church that you know that are good, genuine people that you trust. Like, I think trust is such a big thing. You can't have vulnerability without trust. And if you trust, like, for you guys, you trust the guys in your small group that you're accountable with. I trust the girls in my small group. Like, we share things with each other that we would probably never share with other people because we're not comfortable with them, or, you know, or we don't trust them like that. But having that vulnerability and that trust in the small group first allows us to be comfortable enough to talk about our sin, to help other people, so we can go outside of that circle and be like, hey, like, I struggled with that thing too, like, let's talk about it so that I can help you now, because I'm comfortable, I've opened up about it. And so I think community, like, you can't have that accountability and that vulnerability without community, and that's why we press so much about community and how important it is.
That she nailed it right on the head, like, literally. And to just recap what you said, from my experience, man, without community and having my relationships being secret, you know what it was? It was filled with a lot of lust. It was filled with a lot of sexual immorality. It was filled with a lot of anger and kind of deception with me and my girlfriends at the time. And I just found myself, like, man, we were indulging in things that we shouldn't have been indulging in, and then we were fighting over things that we shouldn't have been fighting on. It's that simple. Like, it was the two extremities. And when I started learning, and I continue to learn, to live in accountability and to live in community with people who are there to aid you and to aid in your relationship and to call you out on situations and characters that you're developing or you've developed, man, it's humbling and it's scary at first. It's humbling and it's scary, and it's not fun. I'll be straight up, it's not fun getting called out on a situation where, like, for example, you're having sex with your girlfriend and you don't want to stop and you're getting called out on it. No, it's not fun. Like, and then owning up to it as well. But man, is there beauty, and is there growth, and is there purpose behind it? Because it takes us back to the first question: why are we dating? Are we dating to just fulfill our sexual desires and to just have sex and let that be it? As Christians, this is a question, like, specific towards Christians. Are we dating to show off our significant others to other people on social media? Like, is that the reason why we're dating? Or are we dating to hopefully pursue marriage and then ask God to pursue a family, to have kids, to have a life here on this earth and glorify God? You know, and if that last answer is your answer, then you realize that, man, me getting called out on my mishaps, me getting called out on my sin, me getting called out on my things that I'm doing in the secrecy, it hurts right now in the moment, but it's only gonna help me grow in the future. So therefore, when you develop, like my bride was saying, if you develop that character of community with other people who are there to aid you, and if you specifically develop that trust, then you start realizing that, man, I can ask Stephen to hold me accountable, so when I do fall short again, he's gonna be right there to nudge me and say, hey, this is where you're going back and you shouldn't be there. This is your goal. Let me remind you of the reason why you were dating in the first place. Let me remind you of that story of the marriage that you were telling me about, to hold you accountable in the first place. And then our brothers and our sisters are gonna hold us accountable and are gonna steer us back into our pursuit and our relationship with God and our mission to why we're dating in the first place. And that's why it's beautiful. That's why you can settle without vulnerability, because you know the end goal is, yes, it hurts right now. Yes, I feel ashamed right now, but I know there's beauty in that moment, or there's beauty that is coming, you know. So that's just been my experience about it all.
Yeah. I think both you guys are giving such... I don't even have to really say anything. I don't have to add anything. These are so good, and I think what is just popping into my head, I think oftentimes as we pursue the Lord, our head gets so heavy.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep looking up.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when we make mistakes, it feels so easy to look down in shame and guilt and weariness.
Yeah.
And God says, I know it's tough.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm surrounding you with people who can help lift your head up.
Yeah.
And help you refocus. And so oftentimes, reason why it's hard to run to community, because it's easy to focus on ourselves.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's so comfortable. It's the easy road.
Yeah.
It's the path most traveled, because most of the world thinks about ourselves. Most Christians think about ourselves. All Christians think about ourselves. You know, there's no label on us that makes us different to where we don't think about ourselves, but this is always the classic is, it's by God's grace that we even get to be different.
Yeah.
It's through the sacrifice of Jesus that we even get to look differently, that we get to even look at God and look at the light. And so I think when Akoo was talking about, the difficulty of approaching other brothers and sisters, it's mostly because we're thinking about ourselves. And your brothers and sisters in Christ and your community are there to be like, I know you're struggling. I see you in your struggle, but I'm going to point your head back to Christ and who really matters. And what he really is about. This is what God is about. This is what he's about. This is what he desires for you and for us. So I'm going to lovingly tell you, this is where you need to be. This is where your headspace needs to be. And that's the beautiful thing about community, because like, I think Mason has, one of our guys in our small group has talked about this a lot.
Yeah. We need to bring him in.
You guys should.
We all have blind spots.
Yes.
And when you cannot see everything around you because you can only think about so much. And those around you have lived different lives to where they can see where you have been lacking. Where you have not focused on. And so don't be... This is me probably speaking to myself. Don't be prideful in thinking that you can handle everything and think about everything on your own, because you're probably wrong. Because we're human.
Probably. Definitely.
You're definitely
wrong.
definitely wrong, right? Because you're human. You don't know everything, so you're going to make mistakes, and God is placing people around you to be like, hey, this looks a little off. Let me tell you why it's off and what, like, a better way to do it. And so that is a really large dive into getting your ducks in a row. But that's the reason why we're so adamant on it, because these are the ducks that matter. These are the things that stick and will carry you. And I think the most important thing that a lot of people won't really like, and you guys may want to speak into this, is finding value and contentment without being in a romantic relationship.
I was just going to say that.
Go off.
I was literally, I was writing or thinking of how I was going to say it, but I think I actually have 2 verses for it. When you're in this season of thinking about dating or you're talking to somebody, what yes, you want to be thinking about this in the moment when you're dating, but what are you doing before you even get to that dating stage? Like, are you content with being single? Are you content with who you are as a person and like what you're learning and growing through and your own relationship with God? Because being single is just as important as being married. Like, you have to set yourself up for success in the marriage, and God obviously is going to help you do that, but you can't expect to get into a healthy marriage without having a healthy mindset in your own singleness. Because when you get into a relationship, it's not just going to magically happen, and it's not going to magically be easy. So what are you doing in your waiting season? Like, is God your rock and your salvation, that you shall not be shaken, which is talked about in Psalm 62:11, where it says, "For God alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation. My fortress, I shall not be greatly shaken." Like, he alone, nobody else, not some guy that you're chasing after, not some girl that you're chasing after, God alone.
Yeah.
And then also just relating to that, Psalm 84, 84:2. "For a day in your courts is better than a 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness. For the Lord my God is a sun and shield." And I just think, like, sometimes we're so caught up in trying to be in the right places at the right time and trying to talk to the right people and, like, look our best and talk to the right guy and whatever it may be. But, like, even physically, like, you might be, like, I get FOMO really easily. And I'm like, why do I care so much about hanging out with these people, or, like, if I'm missing out on what they're doing? And, like, when I was single, I was like, oh, I'm missing out on, like, an opportunity to talk to this guy that I like. But, like, in reality, your contentment should not come in those situations, right? Like, your contentment needs to come in your relationship with God, and if you're even content being alone in a space with just you and God.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I love that. And I was looking at my little verse that I had saved up, and yours is in Psalms and mine's in Ephesians. And it's funny because earlier in the night, me and Stephen were laughing about how Paul and David are very similar in the way they wrote their books.
Yes.
But going into that posture of singleness, and I'm gonna go back to the point that I brought back in writing or having a list. And I was like, man, you should have two lists. One list for the person that you're trying to pursue, and another list for yourself, right? And the list for yourself, man, it goes with the character, the posture that you have. Like, being confident in your singleness. And the way that I could put it is, I want to go back in the book of Ephesians chapter 4, and I'm going to just start in verse 1, where it talks about unity in the body of Christ. But it says, man, I urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling of which you have been called. As a Christian, the calling of which you have been called, right? With all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. But I want to specifically focus and meditate on humility, gentleness, and patience. Bro, guys, be humble, man.
Yeah.
Be humble in your singleness. Stop showing off. Stop doing this. Just be humble. And in addition to being humble, be gentle. Be gentle with your thoughts. Be gentle with your relationships. Be gentle with your friends. Be gentle with yourself. And then again, be patient. All good things come to those who wait. Be patient. God is a God of a lot of things, and specifically He's a God of patience, because He does everything in His timing, not your own.
So true.
So be patient, guys. Like, I know it's hard for us, even for myself. I struggle with patience in a lot of things, but I urge you guys, brothers and sisters, please be patient, because all good things come to those who wait. So for me, I just want to wrap it up in this beautiful conversation of man, what does it look like to approach dating? And as you see, this has been a long episode, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what it looks like.
We're holding back.
But I hope that we just shared a little bit of our insights, a little bit of our thought processes and our experiences of what we've experienced and what we would like to think and what we've learned navigating through dating and through relationships could be, and how beautiful it could look like if we focus on God instead of ourselves and instead of each other. So, man, I'm eager for the next episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully, when we come back, me and Erin are not gonna be the only one that are married. Maybe Stephen.
Oh my
maybe
God,
Quick,
that's
my
a
boy.
quick
Maybe.
move.
I don't know. For you girls out there, Stephen is single. No, for real.
Single,
Man.
He's
but
single and
he's
he is
content in
ready.
his singleness.
Man, that is
No, but for real,
quick
like,
push.
I'm just excited because this is such a beautiful subject when it's handled right. You know,
Yeah,
like, it could
Yeah.
be so like disastrous if it's handled the wrong way, but if it's
Yeah.
handled right and if it's handled with care, man, you guys could take a lot from everything that we just said, and we could take a lot from you guys. So please respond, please give us feedback and even experiences that you guys have had. But yeah, that's all I have from me. How about you guys?
I just want to send you guys off by just reminding you about the list thing. If you want to make a list, like, go ahead, make a list, but take that list to God in prayer and ask Him to give you clarity on that list and open your eyes to the people around you or the people in the future that He's going to surround you with that have those qualities. And then also bring that list to God and ask Him to give you those same qualities. Kind of like Akoo was saying, if you want to make 2 lists. But I just encourage you that as you're looking outwards to other people that you want to date, focus even more so inwards on what you are doing to grow your own relationship with God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. I mean, I'm just gonna hop on on that last thought. Like, that was exactly what I was going to say. Is a lot of, if you've kind of zoned out for almost an hour and this is all you're hearing is our closing thoughts, what has been underlined throughout all of those questions, hopefully you guys can hear, is the focus, and your focus should be on God. It's dying to yourself and focusing on God, allowing yourself to cast away your own desires. Even though God hears your desires, He will give it in His time.
Yes.
It's that He's a caring God. He loves you and He wants the best for you, and He's gonna make it in a way that He knows is best for you.
Yeah.
But you have to desire Him. That's in everything. Whatever your list is, better have godly things. Whatever your ducks are, you better make sure it's pulling you closer to God.
Yeah.
Why are you dating? It's to honor God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's glorifying
Right,
God.
right.
Glorifying God, because marriage is the epitome of it's His.
Literally.
It's His metaphor, and it's a physical thing that we get to act out.
Yeah.
Is the beautiful whole thing of marriage.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to God, so treat it with such importance. Treat the preparation and the execution with so much importance. Because at the end, it'll be beautiful that people can see and enjoy from it.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Adios, guys.
Ciao.
Until next time.
Bye.